Good morning and welcome to the daily weather operations brief. This morning we are seeing partly to mostly cloudy skies with some upper level cloud cover moving through the area and pushing offshore. Temperatures are starting in the mid to upper 40s, and that is going to set the scene for an unseasonably warm afternoon today. And we may see some slightly breezy conditions, especially early in the working hours of today, with a slight chance of seeing a wind advisory. However, those winds do look to trend downwards towards the end of the day today, especially in those overnight hours when we see those winds become more so light and variable in nature. Now, taking a look at this morning's surface analysis chart for an overview of the day, we can see that we remain under an area of broad high pressure, and that is similar to previous days that we've seen here on the shore. We have a region of low pressure moving off to our north, and further west we can also see some trailing cold fronts associated with that low to the north that are pushing through the Ohio Valley and moving towards our local area. Now, on the backside of those lows, or of those cold fronts, we will see Arctic high pressure start making its way into the area. And as these fronts pass through, they do seem to lack sufficient moisture to really produce any precipitation, so we should remain dry with their passage. However, the main feature here is going to be that cold air on the backside. Once they pass through, that cold air is going to be locked in, and that is going to set the stage for that major winter storm that is set to impact much of the mid-Atlantic region in many ways. But for today in general, we can anticipate slightly breezy conditions, especially early, given that pressure gradient between the low up north and the high down south. And we can also anticipate seeing a dry day with warmer temperatures. Taking a look at the current weather on the field, we do have a scattered layer at 10,000 feet. We have a broken layer at 15,000 feet and unrestricted visibility as of current. Winds are out of the southwest at about 10 knots, gusting up near 20, and our temperature sits at 47 degrees with a relative humidity of 43%. And that brings us on to this morning's satellite imagery. On the most recent pass, we can see that upper level cloud cover continuing to move offshore, associated with a cold front that passed through in the overnight hours. Off to the west, we can also see a pretty clear line here denoting that first cold front of the two that are going to pass through today. So we'll see a slight increase, or generally a consistent amount of cloud cover as we move through the day. We might see a brief period where the overall cloud cover decreases before that secondary front, but in general, again, no real rain chances, which this model here, the HER on a 24-hour loop, this high-resolution model will confirm. We do seem to steer clear of any precip. We do have some lake effect snow up to the north and showers associated with that cold front that has since passed through. So as of currently, we are in the clear for the 24 hours ahead. And that brings us on to the 24-hour outlook, in which we do have broken conditions right now, expected to see a downwards trend in overall cloud coverage throughout the day. Those clouds will be mixed in, but they should remain light. Once we get in the early hours and overnight hours of tomorrow, we'll see a clearing sky, and then clouds once again build in, although those also look to be light and in the form of upper level coverage. For our temperatures today, they look to climb into the mid 50s and drop down to around freezing overnight. And our winds, as mentioned earlier, slightly breezy in the early hours and then decreasing through. Once we get through midday, they'll be on the downward trend, and then they'll turn light and variable in the overnight hours. And as for the risk chart, we are largely green with only a slight chance of that wind advisory early in the morning. Taking a look at the short-term risk chart here, on Friday we can anticipate mostly cloudy conditions and a high around 48. Greens across the board. Friday night, mostly cloudy and breezy, with a low of 15, so quite chilly, and an orange for the chance of seeing a wind advisory. And then Saturday, mostly cloudy and slightly breezy, and a high of 25 with a yellow on the chance of seeing a wind advisory. Now that might hold out. It's likely that those winds will be decreasing in the early hours of Saturday, but some lingering gusts might continue to keep a wind advisory active if we were to see one come through a Friday night. Now that is going to conclude the daily weather operations brief. We'll be back at 10 o'clock with the 7-day outlook. Hope everyone has a great day.